Welcome, everyone, to the session. Last day of the conference, first session in the morning. So clearly, we have a curious and engaged bunch over here. It's great to have you join us. I'm joined here also with my colleague, Joe Malone, and our customer, Tim Velasquez from Veo. We have an exciting session for you. We will unpack many of the capabilities of Gemini and BigQuery. We will include a short demo and hear from Tim on how Veo uses it. But first, we will start by touching on some of the pain points and data challenges that organizations face and what we mean by a unified analytics platform in BigQuery that is enhanced by Gemini. Now, this statistic sounds like a dream, but the reality is very few organizations are able to realize this kind of a paradise. It's actually rare for an organization to be great at extracting value from their data and turning that into a differentiator. Data and AI are not being leveraged at scale by the entire organization. They are being leveraged, yes, but it tends to happen in silos, where due to the complexity of being able to do that, it is only accessible to a few people who can participate. And the workflows are inefficient and costly. Let's look at some of the data challenges. So imagine spending time wrangling data formats for weeks, only to have your analysts bogged down in code. Ideally, you want this time to be a fraction of what it is and get to your insights as fast as you can. Data holds incredible value, but a lot of this value remains untapped. This is because analysis gets stuck in complex workflows, and crucial optimizations remain hidden. What if your analytics platform could unlock and reveal its secrets? Lastly, picture this. An analyst says what they really want to analyze in plain language, and they get code suggestions instantly. They can follow complex insights with ease, and the system flags hidden problem areas. That is the potential of Gen AI. But today, they run into issues in simple discovery and analysis tasks. With Google Cloud, you're adopting a platform, not just a model. What we mean by that is we are providing BigQuery as this unified analytics platform to support all data personas. It has a breadth of capabilities and context at every step of the journey. We embed these models within context for users to improve their productivity. And these are first-party models and fully managed model operations. With the seamless integration with Vertex AI, we use data to improve these models. It is a fully managed, scalable platform. And lastly, Google Cloud has this unique differentiator to leverage and optimize infrastructure that goes all the way down to the silicon with TPUs and GPUs. So today, we are going to focus on Gemini capabilities in BigQuery. But first of all, as you now may know, Duet AI in BigQuery becomes Gemini in BigQuery. And we will dive into the features that enhance productivity of data teams. And we will optimize operations. BigQuery has spent a lot of effort in unifying experiences of various personas and streamline the work of data teams. In Gemini BigQuery, we take that a step further in enabling these data teams to be more efficient in driving their business goals. So launching as GA, BigQuery Studio enables this unified experience for all data personas. So I'm going to invite Joe Malone to talk us through that. Joe?
Thank you, Deepak. So quick show of hands, who was out at last night's party? Awesome. You are the GCP Next diehards. Congratulations for making it out to the first session the day after. We really appreciate it. So my name is Joe Malone. I'm a product manager for BigQuery Studio. And I'm here to talk to you about unified analytics through BigQuery Studio. So simplification is at the core of automation, right? Like, I am a Detroit native, and I think about how the data industry has evolved over time in the same way that the automobile industry has evolved to simplify. Hear me out. When the automobile industry first started, you had a lot of siloed workers who had a patchwork of frameworks, processes, tools that had to be cobbled together to build the first productionized vehicles. Over time, there was a massive wave of standardization to massively improve productivity. And this came in the form of an assembly line. And what Detroit did is enabled all of the auto workers to bring the tools to the workers, streamlined the processes, and brought them together so they could collaborate and they could increase their productivity. And over time, where there was opportunity, we saw a massive wave of automation as well, in which we brought in automated assistants to assist the productivity of the assembly line, augment the productivity of the auto workers so that we can improve the quality of the cars as well. So I'm here to tell you that I think that BigQuery has followed a similar path. We've invested a lot in standardizing so that we could earn the right to automate as well to improve productivity. So where BigQuery has invested, think what the challenges enterprises face today with their data stacks. And we're here to assemble the simple. And how we've created a simple stack is by taking all of these disparate frameworks, tools, and workflows and brought them together so that we can increase collaboration. So if you're a data scientist who's working with Python or Spark, or a data analyst working with SQL, you're working on structured, unstructured data, you're working with disparate models, and you're often using different IDEs and UIs, all of that is simply a mess. So what BigQuery has invested in is a three-stage level of simplification. First, we aim to unify the storage experience with a lakehouse architecture. And what this has enabled is a simplified experience for all data assets for our end data practitioners. So whether you're working with structured data, unstructured data, streaming data, managed storage, cross-cloud storage, or some of the open source storage formats, all of those have been simplified so that users can access those in a cohesive manner. Next, what we've done is unified workloads. So whether you prefer working out of SQL, out of Spark Python, or working with functions, we have a simple way to use all those different frameworks on top of those data assets so you can get a simplified analytics experience. And then finally, within our data portfolio, we've simplified the UI layer and that experience layer to create a collaborative data workspace, and that is BigQuery Studio. I'll talk a lot about that because that's what I'm most passionate about and what I've partnered to build with the team. But after we've unified those three layers, we've earned the right to connect into an AI portfolio with Vertex platform. And that gives us access to models and training capabilities to help you improve your AI capabilities on top of your data portfolio. And the cherry on top is really at every level of this stack, whether it's data and AI, we have a unified data governance model. So data assets, code assets, and all of your workflows are governed with enterprise security. So you have the best balance of having access to the types of data all users need, but you can protect your most critical assets at every step of that journey. So what I want to talk about is double-clicking on that highest level of that stack. And this is what we have spent the last year and a half developing here, BigQuery Studio. Consider this the front door of your unified portfolio in BigQuery. So regardless if you're a data analyst, data scientist, an ML engineer, data engineer, or even a lowly product manager, you can all work together in one cohesive, collaborative workspace so you can iterate on your data production. So you can share your code assets, your data assets, you can share your work streams, and maybe even share some laughs together. I don't know. I think our goal here is to have some fun. So since we launched BigQuery Studio in 8 months ago, we have supported hundreds of thousands of users in preview. And we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback, particularly in the way that we support our data analysts, data scientists, to bring all the tools into one place and reduce complexity. So now I'm incredibly proud to announce that today we are announcing BigQuery Studio has gone to general availability. So within this interface, you can collaborate across all personas. You can access a serverless a notebook, a SQL editor, some of our newer editing experiences like data canvas or data preparation that Deepak will go into further, or create stored procedures that can be deployed into production. So any language can be developed in the BigQuery Studio console. We've also embedded our notebooks that are built on Colab Enterprise with our BigQuery data frames. So this allows you to get your data frames to scale, whether you want to use BigQuery to scale them natively or connect into Spark to help scale those Spark data frames as well. We've also integrated data form very natively. So all of your code assets get all of the collaboration and sharing features all within the user experience. So if you need to share your assets, that's all done within the UI, and you can collaborate on, with development best practices. Finally, this will be the place in which you get all of your generative AI experiences through Gemini, the Gemini AI assistant, and I'll let Deepak dig into that further. We have two main preview features also that we're announcing as part of the BigQuery Studio GA. The largest one in the core for unification is Apache Spark and BigQuery. So now you can develop your batch or serverless Spark development all within your BigQuery notebook. And with just one click, one line of code, you can create a Spark session in a serverless manner. This scales up automatically, and you can do your Spark development all within that same notebook right within BigQuery. The great thing about this, too, is another line of unification that we've made it easier for our admins and those who control budgets at organizations is that all of the serverless Spark consumption is all unified under the commercial model within BigQuery. So you can budget cohesively across your BigQuery SQL consumption and your BigQuery Spark consumption in both those serverless environments. But we will continue to develop, and the real vision, I think, for BigQuery Studio as we progress here is to develop a full data ops IDE. And what I mean by that is we're going to help all of our data developers help to push data assets into production. So whether that means deploying a pipeline or pushing and sharing it to production environments via Git repositories, we want to integrate BigQuery Studio using the best continuous integration and development frameworks. So the other preview announcement we're making is BigQuery Workflows. And there are two sets of features that we'll launch as part of BigQuery Workflows soon. The first is that you will have the ability to one-click deploy any code assets as part of a singular or more complex pipeline that can be deployed and ran on a regular basis. So whether you want to deploy a SQL job, a notebook job, a PySpark job, or a data transfer job, all of these can be orchestrated in a complex pipeline over time. The other big integration that we've heard a lot of customers ask for over time is to integrate with Git so that we can do source control either through first-party connectors or third-party connectors like GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab. So all natively integrated will be Git source control all within the BigQuery Studio UI, so you can do those integrations either natively or with those third-party connectors. We will also be improving the level of collaboration by providing things like commenting and organizing them into folders to help track all of your different types of code assets in a more cohesive manner. This will first launch with scheduling notebooks directly within BigQuery. That was a big point of feedback, so we're excited to say that within a couple weeks here, you'll be able to schedule a notebook directly from the BigQuery UI. Awesome. So I'll leave you with this quote, which to me was my proudest moment of launching in preview, in which we heard from Blair, from one of my favorite customers, Woolworths, who said, "The BigQuery Studio notebooks are awesome. We're seeing users save hours per month." And I think that is truly what we're striving to do here, is help you all save time by connecting different parts of your data stack. And we think after this wave 1 of simplification, we have now earned the right for the wave 2 of automation by using Gemini and BigQuery to help you save even more time through generative AI. Deepak, I'd like to hand it back to you to expand more.
You will see Gemini features throughout the product portfolio, supporting all of our user personas. And it is not a one-time event to launch Gemini. We are continuously evolving and improving, as you will see later in the slides. In addition to enhancing existing workflows and experiences, we are delivering totally new experiences that were not possible before Gemini. So, systems grounded in business state metadata provide a strong foundation for data-driven decision-making. Their ability to continuously learn and evolve allows businesses to adapt, uncover new opportunities. Intent-driven development makes coding easier for data engineers, analysts, and business users. The system understands your goals and provides context, suggestions, and saves you time. Lastly, this system is designed to take the burden of routine tasks of governance off of your shoulders. It automates repetitive processes, freeing up your time for more strategic work. So Gemini in BigQuery offers a broad range of capabilities beyond just code assistance. It spans across the entire data lifecycle, from data ingestion, pipeline creation, quality monitoring, assisted analysis, all the way to visualization, to recommendations, and auto-tuning. It enhances data user productivity and optimizes cost and performance of data workloads. So let's dive in first with how it helps build pipelines. As a data professional, you're likely familiar with the challenges in preparing data, acquiring it, cleansing it, making it available for further analysis or for use by other applications. You might have spent a majority of your time on data projects performing these tasks. In addition, you likely have a fragmented tool set, which leads to islands of data and knowledge. This is the same story with organization and teams. Each works in their own domain. So we clearly believe that this is an area that needs continued innovation. So we are launching an AI-driven data preparation experience within BigQuery. It offers a natural language, low-code experience for designing your data pipelines, along with AI-powered suggestions to streamline your workflow. Once your pipelines are created, AI assists in finding and resolving issues, things like drift in schema or data, significantly reducing the toil in even maintaining these pipelines. For transformation and data quality rules, it provides a very intuitive preview for these suggestions so that you can apply these rules with greater confidence. Capabilities like data quality validation, Dataplex integration, and CI/CD support ensure robust data management. Once you have transformed your data, the next step is to do analysis. But how does the analysis journey start? It starts with data discovery. How do you go about it? Well, you browse for data sets, do a keyword search, you look for documentation, or ask some of your colleagues, or you try and iterate, look at the schema, iterate with some queries to ensure it actually has the data you're looking for. So we are introducing two capabilities to address this cold start problem. First, we are introducing semantic search in preview. It addresses the challenges for teams to get started with finding the right data sets. By offering an intuitive, natural search, it empowers the users to not be bottlenecked on other factors within the organization. This democratizes data access within the organization. The second capability that we are launching is data insights. Imagine having a library of pre-validated queries that are ready to execute as you see them. They are shown in natural language. The feature eliminates the guesswork by having these available to run with a single click, all within BigQuery Studio. These actionable queries provide the right information to help you further your analysis. While we talked about the cold start problem, what is the challenge in doing the next set of steps in the analysis? Like slicing data, sharing with collaborators, visualizing it, sharing your thought process. This tool-centric workflow today leads to disjointed processes. And poor collaboration leads to lack of sharing between collaborators, and this creates bottlenecks in the organization. So this translates directly into tedious manual work, but most importantly, it leaves a lot of insights hidden. So at Next, as you may have seen in the keynote, we launched Data Canvas in preview. It is a new natural language-driven experience in BigQuery Studio that helps users with the data to insights journey. With Data Canvas, we are bringing together a lot of the UX and AI innovations in a single workflow to help you collaborate better within BigQuery Studio. It lowers the barrier to entry for complex analysis. It helps users achieve full data insights to visualization journey within the same tool. By transforming your data work with an AI-powered experience, it has seamless exploration, analysis, and visualization. The built-in collaboration features enable data analysts to share not just their analysis or a single visualization, but their entire thought process of how they came to a certain insight. While we are introducing natural language first experiences for data preparation, analysis, and discovery, we continue to improve our coding assistance capabilities. At Next 23, we had launched SQL Code Assistance. Now, based on user feedback, thanks for all the engagement in SQL code generation, we now have a Help Me Code tool, which helps with the experience. It lets users try out different prompts and even select the tables to help build more confidence in the queries you want to write. SQL explanation empowers you to understand even the most intricate of queries. Simply paste your code and highlight it, and it'll explain the intent. It will explain how the schema is being used, and it is a great way to be able to learn about the way the query is built. So it transforms that experience of learning how a certain query is trying to analyze the data from a chore to a better BigQuery experience. Using natural language, a user can type a coding prompt for Python now. This is particularly useful for data scientists and data engineers who use BigQuery with SQL APIs, data frames, and Spark. So BigQuery partitioning and clustering recommendations have been in preview. They help identify tables and data sets that should be partitioned or clustered on a certain key to help improve your queries, both from a cost and performance perspective. Materialized views are pre-computed views that reduce the size of the data that you're going to scan, which results in lower bills for you because you're scanning less data to get the same insight because it's more targeted to the analysis that you're trying to achieve. Your data and queries can change over time too. So these recommenders are continuously working behind the scenes, surfacing newer insights for your data so that you do not have to constantly monitor for these optimizations. Now in Apache Spark, when working with BigQuery, it typically contains a myriad of configurations that need to be specifically tuned for efficiency and optimal performance. This requires deep knowledge of Spark internals. So we are now introducing auto-tuning, which automatically configures your jobs based on a history of similar previous jobs. Currently, we are optimizing for the configurations based on memory tuning, efficient scaling, and optimizing joins, with a lot more in the pipeline. It automatically improves the jobs, helping you reach your SLAs with reliability, making jobs more predictable. When troubleshooting for Spark, with this capability, you can save time and you don't have to go through scattered logs and fragmented tools. Our solution centralizes all Spark diagnostics in one place, giving you a clear, concise, actionable insight. You don't have to sift manually through a lot of data and logs. We intelligently analyze and surface and summarize the insights that you should be looking for. It's more than just finding problems. It's about also solving them. So our solution doesn't highlight issues. It gives tailored recommendations that you can adopt with effective solutions. So let's go over a quick demo. Okay. So we'll try to touch on some of the capabilities I mentioned. Let's start the journey with semantic search. I'm looking for a data set. In this case, it's a coffee beans data set. By the way, it's already available in Analytics Hub for if you want to use. You only pay for the queries run against this data set. So I was able to find this data set, and now I move over to finding, okay, I want to explore the order items table a little further. So I go into insights. An admin can say, I want to generate insights. And this, as you will see, generates these natural language questions that you can ask off of this data, some questions that you didn't even know that you should ask. And it comes with this pre-validated SQL with it that you can run in BigQuery Studio with a single click. So I'm going to go ahead and get this query to run. Now that we have the results, we're going to save that as a table. Now let's get some aggregated insights on this table. I'm going to use SQL code completion to be able to do that. All I need to do is start querying that and press space and wait for a second as it suggests what the rest of the query that I should be asking the question of. So in this case, I not only did that, I also highlighted this to explain the intent behind the query. So I have confidence in making sure it is doing what it's supposed to do. So now I can do SQL code generation. I want to perform a join of this table with the previous table that we created. And with a simple prompt, this is the new help me code tool I was referring earlier. I have the query I want to run. Note that we also have this, you can the ability to pick the table sources so that you have confidence in the query you're running, and also being able to run a query summary so that you know what it's trying to generate. This looks good. We'll go ahead and insert that and run this query. Now, after running this analysis, we're going to explore this further in Python Notebook. You can see how easy it is to go from SQL analysis to Python in just a few clicks. Gemini here can help us with code generation to continue the analysis. So I want to find out the correlation between the cost of items and the revenue that they generate. So let's explore that. So all we need to do is ask question, and Gemini will generate the code for you. Now let's go to data canvas. Here, we can start from exploration of data. Now we support both keyword search and semantic search powered by Gemini to give you the results. So we'll pick the data beans data set. But we may not be looking for this result, really. So let's change the prompt to see something that we would like to actually analyze. So this NL2 SQL capability is the same that is used for NL2 SQL within the BigQuery editor. Now that I run this query, I can visualize it within the same experience as the next node on this graph. And I want to have a line graph here. So let's go ahead and visualize that. There we are. So this was a demo. Now I'll invite Tim over to talk about how VO uses Gemini and BigQuery as their AI advantage.
Thank you, Deepak. First, I've got to say this is an impressive turnout to hear off-brand Kings of Leon come talk about BigQuery. By way of introduction, I am Tim Velasquez, head of analytics at VO, where I manage and develop end-to-end data products to really empower our operations and product strategy. VO is a micromobility provider, and if you've never heard that term before, think e-bikes, e-scooters as a fleet operating various cities for rental. And we're on a mission to make clean transportation accessible to all. You can see we operate in about 50 different cities. Some of these dots that you see on the map are only going to get bigger. New York City, Seattle, various markets in the Midwest. And this is our eclectic fleet. We have sit-down scooters, stand-up scooters, e-bikes, all of them equipped with IoTs that are streaming data to us. And it's up to us to leverage a lot of that to really win this ground game. And in terms of business goals, the details change from quarter to quarter, but they fall into a couple of buckets. One, we want to keep our riders happy, meet their needs, have them keep coming back to us. Think of VO as their main mode of transportation, or even their first and last mile mode of transportation. We want to grow. We want to grow our revenue. We want to grow our fleet size, and really have a bigger presence in the US, have a bigger presence internationally as well. And we want to do this with maximum efficiency. We want to make sure that we maintain our position as a profitable micromobility provider. And none of this is possible, again, without data and leveraging data, but specifically for us, none of it is possible without BigQuery. And with some of these new features, it's really accelerated our overall workflow to get the job done. As we move, even with the best tools, there's still a lot of scaling challenges that we had to address. One, we're a small but mighty team, small but mighty centralized team. And so inevitably, we're going to be a bottleneck to various stakeholders and some of their requests. We're trying to work on high impact things, but we still have to go through a prioritization cycle. But what if we can get to those things that we've been kind of pushing off to the side for a little bit? And the other 2 points here, data discovery and nascent data modeling, those 2 things are related to each other in the sense that we're always changing our data pipelines to make them much more efficient, materialize in different ways to make them much more efficient. And that means changing up tables, maybe ones that people used to rely on will be pulled out from underneath them, and in which case they come back asking questions, which one should we be using? And with that, I think this is where Gemini comes in to really help us quite a bit on some of these pain points. So instead of talking through them, I'm going to go through a demo and typically show you a couple of workflows that we employ here. So this is a screen here. As you can see, this is a very gnarly query, multiple CTEs. I even have some GeoJSON in there, trying to turn that into a geographic object. But again, I'm here telling you what the high level is. What if you were someone who is trying to figure out what this is? It's not uncommon for us to pass this off to business users to have them run it themselves. Or maybe people who are trying to learn SQL and maybe are not at this particular level. This is a good starting point to figure out how can we explain this query in here? And so Gemini, in BigQuery through Gemini, there is an explain current selection. And so when I highlight this, and maybe I'll leave out the comment just to see what that does. But when I highlight this and go to explain current selection, it's going to pass it off. And what it should generate is some sort of text that describes what's going on at a high level. And hopefully that's enough to bring intermediate users and drive their aptitude, maybe in the future if they need to run any sort of geographic or geospatial query in here. And so I'm not going to read this all to you, but a couple of highlights that come up. Defining the PUR unifence. So this subquery creates a table called PUR unifence that defines a polygon representing the PUR campus. So what this is meant to do is, on our Purdue campus, count the number of vehicles that have been deployed offline. Sometimes that is of interest to the city of West Lafayette, and we need to comply to some of their reporting standards. And so for our policy and partnerships team, they might see this and they'll want to go, what's going on here? Is this truly accomplishing what it's set out to do? And so with being able to explain the query, they get a better sense of that. And of course, they can always still come to us and verify this. But it's, again, addresses a lot of that cold start that Deepak and Joe were talking about. So that's one really cool feature. Let's go to another one. Let's just say, again, going back to this cold start problem. Maybe an analyst who doesn't know where to go, maybe doesn't know what, how to really type this out as a query. But let's just say that I'm interested in something about our rides. How many rides let's stick with Purdue. How many rides did Purdue have last week over 15 minutes? And that could be of interest to maybe understand how their general riders are behaving in their particular market. Generate that. It gives me back something here. So I'm going to evaluate this. And so one thing that I want to emphasize is that the Google Cloud team, particularly the BigQuery team, has done a great job keeping a human in the loop to really evaluate all this and not blindly relying on generative AI to do everything from the get-go. But again, it augments a lot of what we do, and it allows us to focus on accomplishing that business task versus maybe trying to think about how would I structure this. Again, takes us 60% of the way, 40% of the tweaking to get that answer a lot faster. And so what this is giving me is it's telling me that I'm going to insert this just so we can see this. How many rides did Purdue have last week over 15 minutes? It's giving me a count of ride ID. Okay, decent start. From a table that is our go-to for rides. And it's interjoining with customers. And so in actuality, this last bit is actually not what I would typically go for. A lot of this information is in fact rides. But again, I can kind of go from here, delete this, and maybe edit it from here and run it if we need to. One thing that I didn't expect to pop up also is that it also has an autocomplete around other things that you can join to for that. So in this case, still not what I want, but maybe it could be something that it can suggest in terms of other ways of slicing and dicing data. Lastly, I want to talk about data canvas because that's another Gemini-powered feature here, still within BigQuery. And so I'm going to go back to our rides table. And I'm going to query from here, or rather, go to data canvas from here. I'll clear this out. And you can start to see that this first part in the canvas has a table that I'm looking for. Let's query off of this. How many rides did New York City see in 2024? Local time zone. How many rides broken per day, broken out by vehicle type, include dates rather, in order from earliest to latest. Let's see what it gives me. Cool. So a couple things. It is going to error out without some adjustment, but again, that's totally okay, and that's why we're here. And that's how Data Canvas and all these other Gemini-powered features have been designed, is to, again, keep us in the loop and augment our overall abilities. And so we can see it has ride started on local. Let's just call this, ride started on local, vehicle type. And typically what I'll do here is distinct ride ID. So I don't typically like to just blindly take every single row. And maybe just to maybe to obfuscate a few things, I'll also just add a little bit of noise in here. So cast rand int 64 as ride count. And let's go to the rest of it, fact rides, where rides are local, 2024 in local time zone. We don't need this. But one thing it is missing oh yeah, this is interesting. Let's just do it for here for now, where ride market name is equal to NYC. So let's just check this out. Oops. Here we go. Oh, man. Sorry, folks. I'm not sure why it's giving me... Oh, I guess it's because I keep running it. Sorry, I'm not hitting the run button. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. So it has a few things in here. Now, let's just say we want to take this a little bit further and visualize this. Obviously, there are a couple of preset visualizations that you can do here. But let's just take it from the top, and let's say create a line chart that shows rides per day and rotate the date ticks slightly. So you can also have some general natural language get fed into some of the parameters in your visualization, so you're not having to deal with it too much. You're not necessarily messing with some of the inputs of, let's say, like Seaborn or maybe some of your other go-to visualization packages. And so you can kind of prompt it that way without having to, again, go back to some of that overall documentation. And so here you have it. You also have some general takeaways to kind of draw from. Again, it's still up to the user to validate, but it is a good way to sort of have you focus on some of those talking points and maybe see if that is actually true, and bring that to maybe your next weekly business review if necessary. So many ways that we can slice and dice this, many ways in which you can further drive this analysis off of different nodes within Data Canvas. But with that, I'm going to wrap up and give it back to Deepak to take us home. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Tim. That was great. So Gemini and BigQuery is in preview. You can use a lot of the features that we talked about today. So please feel free to sign up with the QR code or this link. Thank you.